Airports make me reflective. Maybe it's the smell of overpriced sandwiches. Maybe it's the sight of families reuniting like a Hallmark movie while I wrestle with my suitcase that has one busted wheel. Either way, standing in that line, clutching my lukewarm coffee like it was my last lifeline, I thought, life is just a series of baggage fees, some heavier than others. I didn't know it then, but while I was boarding a plane to close an $11 million deal, my husband was busy auctioning off my car like it was a garage sale trinket. The thing about airports is they don't care if your life is falling apart. The conveyor belt doesn't slow down because you're dragging your heart behind you. The TSA officer doesn't soften her voice because your marriage is a ticking time bomb. They just keep barking, shoes off, laptops out like we're all cattle headed to somewhere we're not sure we want to go. And I, high heels clicking on the linoleum, hair tied back so tight it could qualify as an instant facelift, wasn't just a woman with carry-on luggage. I was a woman carrying 10 years of invisible labor. Dinners cooked, vacations planned, schedules managed, birthdays remembered, all while being the breadwinner. But in that moment, I didn't think about any of that. I thought about the deal waiting for me in Europe. $11 million on the table. 11 million reasons to prove I wasn't just someone's wife. I was someone. The irony. Back home, while I was preparing to convince a boardroom full of men that I was worth every signature, my husband was convincing himself that my car, the one thing I bought with my own money, the one thing I baby wiped after every rain, was just another asset he could liquidate for love that wasn't mine. But again, I didn't know. All I knew was my coffee was cold, the line was long, and life had a cruel sense of humor. Do you have any liquids in your bag? The TSA agent asked. Just my hope and dreams, I muttered, shoving the tote onto the belt. I smiled at my own sarcasm. Humor was the only currency I could afford at 5:45 a.m. Here's the part where I should probably introduce myself. If you're watching this, listening to me pour my heart out, or just scrolling by because the algorithm shoved me into your lap, I'm glad you're here. Before I go deeper, can you do me a small favor? Hit subscribe, drop a comment, tell me where you're watching from. I want to know if this story finds you in your kitchen, your office, or maybe your own airport line. My name is Claire. I'm 38 years old, and this is the story of how the man I trusted turned my life into a plot twist even Netflix wouldn't approve. Back to that morning. I boarded my flight with a playlist blasting empowerment anthems. Beyoncé, Lizzo, Alicia Keys. The usual medicine I prescribed myself when life felt heavier than my overstuffed suitcase. I leaned my head against the window and thought about how far I'd come. From eating ramen noodles in my 20s to negotiating million-dollar deals in my 30s. From a girl begging the landlord for another week to pay rent, to a woman swiping her company card like it was an Olympic sport. But here's the quiet truth nobody tells you. Success feels different when you don't have someone rooting for you. When you close a deal and there's no one waiting at home with champagne, just silence and someone asking, "So what's for dinner?" Foreshadowing. That's what that was. A whisper of the storm waiting for me. I landed in Paris with a heart full of nerves and a suitcase full of blazers. The meeting was brutal. Imagine 12 men in tailored suits staring at you like you're the entertainment, not the executive. But I fought. I smiled when my voice shook. I dropped facts like bullets. I carried the weight of generations of women who had to smile through condescension. And when they signed the contract, I didn't just win $11 million. I won the validation I'd been chasing for years. I called my husband right after, excitement dripping from every word. "Baby, we did it. 11 million. Signed and sealed. Can you believe it?" He chuckled, but not the proud, "I love you" chuckle. No, it was flat, hollow, the kind of laugh you'd hear at a dinner party when someone told a joke that wasn't funny. "That's great, Claire," he said. "Really great. Listen, I've got something to tell you too." But before he could, his phone cut out. Bad reception. I told myself it was nothing. Just another dropped call. That night, in my Paris hotel room, I celebrated with myself. Room service champagne. Fuzzy hotel robe. dancing barefoot to old R&B songs. I thought, this is it. This is the life I dreamed of. I didn't know my reality was about to crash into me like turbulence you don't see coming. Because while I was raising a glass to my victory, he was handing over my car keys to another woman, his mistress. He told her, "Don't worry, babe. I've got you." But me? The wife? The woman financing the roof over his head? I didn't have a clue. Not yet. I got off the plane 2 days later, exhausted, exhilarated, and buzzing from the adrenaline of success. You know that high when you've closed a deal worth more than some people earn in a decade? Yeah, that one. My phone buzzed in my purse. I saw his name flash. My first thought, he's going to be proud. Finally, some recognition for all those years of grinding. I answered. "Claire, hey, welcome home," he said, voice too calm, like he'd just read the weather report. "Thanks. You won't believe it. We did it. 11 million. Signed, sealed, and..." Yeah, that's great," he interrupted. Interrupting me. Already. Red flag number 1. Something in the back of my mind twitched. That little intuitive warning I always ignored until it slapped me in the face. I didn't know it yet, but he had already set the stage for the humiliation and betrayal that would redefine how I saw the man I married. I walked into our garage, expecting my car to greet me like an old friend, a shiny testament to our life together. The driveway was empty. My Lexus, my baby, my pride, the car I'd washed after every storm, polished to perfection, was gone. Gone. I froze. My heart thumped like a drum in a marching band. "No, no, no, no," I whispered. I checked the driveway again. Empty. Not even tire marks. Just the faint smell of gasoline lingering like a bad omen. "Where's my car?" I asked out loud, half expecting it to materialize behind the hedge. He appeared behind me, holding a coffee cup like he'd just come from a spa retreat. "It's just a car, Claire," he said, shrugging like he'd just told me the sky was blue. Just a car. Those 4 words hit me like a sack of bricks. My hands shook. Just a car? Just a car. I shouted. "You're overreacting," he said, smirking. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to cry. I wanted to punch him in the face all at the same time. Instead, I sank into the closest chair, my mind spinning. Overreacting. I'd spent years supporting us, paying for his ridiculous hobbies, while he treated my contributions like a tip jar in a diner. "You sold it?" I asked slowly, testing my voice, trying to make sure I was awake. "Yes, for business purposes. You know, to help her. Her startup, I mean," he said. "Huh." That word clawed at my throat. Mistress. She didn't even try to hide it. He said it like it was casual, like mentioning the weather. I sat in silence, a long, heavy silence. My mind replayed every late-night negotiation, every missed date, every time I'd smiled through his ego tantrums while balancing spreadsheets, deadlines, and bills. Invisible labor. That's what it felt like in that moment. Invisible, unappreciated, discarded like a coupon that had expired yesterday. "Her business," I said finally, my voice tight. "You mean, my car, your wife's asset, went to her?" "Yes," he said again, calm as a Sunday sermon. I blinked. I swallowed bile. I wanted to throw my phone. I wanted to call my lawyer. I wanted to scream until the neighbors came to witness my public humiliation. But the funniest part? I didn't. I just sat there, staring at him, realizing that years of silent strength, of patience, had led me to this, an empty driveway and a man with zero conscience. "Claire," he said, leaning against the counter like he owned the moment. "It's just a car. Stop making a scene." I looked at him, really looked at him. The smugness, the ego, the entitlement, that fragile masculinity wrapped in Armani and self-delusion. And I thought, I will not give him the satisfaction of my collapse. I stood up slowly. My legs were jelly. My heart was on fire. My voice was quiet but cutting. 7 words. 7 words that would make his face go pale. But first, coffee. Always coffee. Life is cruel, but caffeine makes it survivable. As I sipped, I realized how much he underestimated me. He had taken my car, sold it to his mistress, and thought I'd crumble. He thought he could erase my effort, my pride, my labor, and replace it with silence. Not today, I thought. I called my best friend, Jessica, who lived 2 blocks away. She arrived 10 minutes later, eyes wide, holding a bottle of wine like a peace treaty. "You did what?" she asked, voice cracking somewhere between horror and laughter. I poured out the story, every infuriating detail, every cringeworthy word he'd said. And she laughed, but it was that ironic, gasping laugh that makes you feel a little less alone in your rage. "He sold your car for her business?" she asked again, just to be sure she'd heard correctly. "Yes," I shouted, and then he said, "It's just a car." Just a car. Can you imagine? Jessica shook her head. "Oh no, Claire. Oh no, no, no. You need to block him right now. He doesn't deserve your breath, let alone your car." And for the first time that night, I felt it. Power. Quiet, simmering, delicious power. The kind that doesn't scream but builds until it's unstoppable. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't run to social media for validation. I just sat, plotting, thinking, if he thinks this is over, he has no idea. Because here's the thing about karma, ego, and fragile masculinity. The bigger the act of betrayal, the harder the fall. I would wait. I would plan. I would rise. And when the time came, he would see the full measure of what he had lost. Not just the car, not just the money, but me. My dignity, my voice, my truth. That night, I wrote him a message. Short, precise, truthful, cutting, 7 words. And I watched the little seen checkmark gnaw at him. The next morning, I woke up to texts from him, a mix of panic and fake bravado. But I didn't answer. Not yet. Let him stew. Let him realize that taking my car didn't take my spirit. And as I looked at the empty driveway again, I realized something profound. You can take my possessions, my time, my energy, even my trust, but you cannot touch my power. That, my friends, is something no one can steal. Except, there was one problem. One tiny, terrifying problem that hadn't occurred to me until that moment. He wasn't done. I didn't know how far he would go next. And I had no idea if my patience and my silent power would be enough to withstand the next wave. But I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't going down without leaving a mark. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I was pacing, though I did, like a caged lion in designer slippers. Not because I was drinking wine, though there was wine, plenty of it. No, I couldn't sleep because my brain refused to let me. It kept playing the same scene. My car, my pride, my labor, handed over like a trinket to someone who didn't earn it. I stared at the ceiling and thought, how is it that the man I married could be so blind to everything I've done? Invisible labor. That phrase kept repeating in my head. Laundry done. Dinners cooked. Holidays planned. Arguments diffused. Career built. Relationships maintained. All invisible. And yet, he had the audacity to treat my car, and by extension, me, as if we were disposable. I finally gave in to the small comfort of my phone. I opened my bank app and stared at the numbers. Not that money could fix betrayal, but it reminded me I had resources he couldn't touch. Power I had quietly accumulated while he spent more time stroking his ego than respecting the partnership he swore he valued. And then I smiled. A little, slow, satisfying smile. The kind that whispers, "Oh, we're going to have fun with this." The next morning, Jessica came by again. She was like a one-woman crisis management team, but with more wine and sass. "You need a plan," she said, sliding a notebook across the table like we were plotting a heist. "Step 1, don't respond to him. Step 2. Figure out what you want. Step 3. Hit him where it hurts. Metaphorically, I hope. I laughed, bitter and soft. She was right. My gut told me that if I reacted too quickly, I'd give him exactly what he wanted. Drama, humiliation, the thrill of seeing me unravel. But patience, I realized, is a weapon, and I had sharpened mine over years of silent endurance. I started keeping notes, small victories, little slights, every moment of disrespect. I wrote them down not just to remember, but to clarify. This wasn't just a car. This was a pattern. Every dismissed idea, every belittling joke, every invisible hour of labor, it all added up. He had been testing my limits for years. And now, unintentionally, he had crossed the line. I called the dealership that had taken my Lexus. My heart thudded as I explained, calmly, carefully, that the vehicle had been sold without my consent. They paused. Records were reviewed. And suddenly, I had leverage I hadn't expected. You might want to have a talk with your husband, the manager said, voice careful. This doesn't look standard. I hung up, a spark of vindication lighting in my chest. Later that day, he texted. Short, casual. Hey, we need to talk. Come home. I stared at the message like it was a cockroach on my kitchen counter. Ugly, unwanted, but somehow still trying to crawl back into my life. I typed back, not today. And then I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I laughed. Not the nervous laugh I usually gave when trying to smooth over tension, but a full-bodied, sharp, I am still here laugh. He didn't reply for a few hours. Good. Let him stew. Let the panic grow like a shadow in his chest. I spent the afternoon walking through the city, coffee in hand, replaying memories. Funny how betrayal has a soundtrack. For me, it was every time he called me too sensitive, every joke at my expense, every credit card he maxed out without telling me. Each memory was fuel, and I knew exactly how I wanted the fire to burn. By evening, I had planned. Nothing reckless, nothing loud. Just truth, leverage, and timing. I would make him understand that no act of betrayal is too small to leave a mark. He had underestimated me. That mistake would be his undoing. Jessica came back over. She found me on the couch, laptop open, fingers flying across the keys like a pianist with vengeance in her veins. What are you doing? She asked, eyebrow raised. Documenting everything, I said, not looking up. Evidence. Timeline. Proof. Everything he's taken, everything he's tried to dismiss. When the moment comes, I want him to realize just how small he looks. She nodded approvingly, then paused. Claire, you know this will feel good, right? Not just for you, but to see him squirm a little. I nodded. It would, and it should. But it wasn't about revenge alone, it was about reclaiming control. About showing that invisible labor, years of patience, and quiet strength are forces to be reckoned with. The next morning, he walked into the house, acting casual. I could smell his cologne before I saw him, the same one he wore when trying to charm someone out of a favor. I was sitting at the table, coffee steaming, laptop open, documents spread like a battlefield map. Morning, he said, voice casual. I didn't look up. Morning, I said. Silence. He tried again. We need to talk. Later, I interrupted, calm as ice. He frowned, confusion knitting his brow. Later? Claire, this is serious. I leaned back, smile curling at the corner of my mouth. Oh, I know. I've been thinking about it. All night. The shift in the room was palpable. He wasn't used to this version of me, this measured, patient, quiet power. Usually, he could bully, manipulate, charm, or gaslight his way out of trouble. But not this time. Not now. He looked down at the documents. Recognition dawned in his eyes. Panic? Possibly. Pride wounded? Definitely. Ego bruised? Oh, you better believe it. I didn't say a word. I let the paper speak. Every spreadsheet, Receipt, note, timeline. Every detail of his betrayal laid bare. And then I smiled, quietly. 7 words, I thought. 7 words he'll never forget. Because when he asked, finally, "Claire, what are you doing?" I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "You just made the biggest mistake ever." He swallowed, paused, face went pale. The realization hit like a wave he couldn't swim against. And in that moment, I knew the storm had just begun. The next morning, I woke up with the kind of clarity that only betrayal can gift you. The kind that makes your coffee taste sharper, your reflection more honest, and your patience a weapon. I wasn't just mad anymore. I was strategic. Jessica arrived 10 minutes later, wielding 2 coffees like they were torches of war. She plopped into the chair across from me, eyes sparkling with mischief. "Okay, so what's the game plan?" she asked. I leaned back, letting the sunlight hit my face just enough to look casual, like I wasn't plotting a minor revolution from my living room. "We make him uncomfortable," I said, slow and deliberate. Not loud, not crazy, just slightly unignorable. She laughed. Slightly unignorable. "Claire, that's you. You've been invisible for too long. Time to make him notice." Exactly. I started with small, deliberate moves. Calls to his colleagues. Polite, professional messages to people in our circle. "Hey, just clarifying a couple of things. By the way, Claire finalized that European deal." Nothing boastful. Just truth. Quiet power. I watched from the sidelines as subtle ripples began to spread. Meanwhile, he noticed. I could tell. Every day, he checked his phone more, texted more, hesitated more. His ego was cracking. But he wasn't the only one getting uncomfortable. I was, too. Every day I replayed the moment I realized my car was gone, the hollow words. "It's just a car." Every sarcastic laugh, every dismissive comment, all of it. Betrayal isn't just an event. It's a soundtrack that keeps playing when you least expect it. Then came the brunch. The public moment I had been waiting for. I had RSVP'd to a charity brunch with people who mattered in our community, people who respected hard work, determination, and integrity. And yes, he was there. He walked in with her, the mistress, like she was a crown jewel in a very bad sitcom. I took a deep breath and walked in, head high, smile effortless. I was met with greetings, nods, congratulations on the European deal, public validation. And I could feel him shrinking as whispers swelled around him. He was used to attention being his domain. Suddenly, it wasn't. He tried a weak smile. She leaned in, whispering something in his ear. I didn't care. I was untouchable in that moment. My achievements, my dignity, my quiet strength, they were all on display. And his humiliation. Slowly, deliciously, it began. Halfway through the brunch, he tried to approach me, panic flashing across his face. "Claire," he started. I interrupted, sweet as sugar, but sharp as glass. "Oh, hi. Did you bring my car back yet?" The room went quiet. A pause, then a ripple of suppressed laughter. His face went pale. She looked at me, confusion mixing with defensiveness. I smiled, just a small tilt of the lips. And that's when I realized something. The power isn't in yelling. It's in the weight, in the precision, in the truth delivered at the perfect moment. After brunch, I walked out with Jessica, coffee in hand, savoring every tiny victory. "You're a genius," she said, shaking her head. "I can't believe you." "Patience," I interrupted. "The real fun hasn't started yet." Because here's the kicker. The next morning, I received an email from the dealership. My car. The same car he had so casually sold. Turns out, the paperwork had a loophole. And that loophole, I could use it. I didn't gloat. Not yet. I smiled. Quietly. Patiently. But the thrill of the first real taste of karmic justice coursed through me. That evening, he tried to act normal, offering excuses, small apologies, ridiculous attempts at charm. But I wasn't the girl he married anymore. I saw the email, I said simply. The car's still technically mine. His face fell. You can't. I can, I said. 7 words. 7 words that would sting far worse than yelling or crying ever could. He tried to bargain, to charm, to manipulate. Nothing worked. I had moved beyond all of that. And then came the whisper from Jessica, standing behind me with a grin that could split steel. Don't forget what comes next. I remembered. The final piece. The one move he would never see coming. But just as I was about to make my next move, the phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Claire, this is her. The mistress. Calm, measured, audacious. And in that moment, I realized she wasn't afraid. She thought she was untouchable, but she didn't know me. And now, the real game begins. I woke up that morning with the kind of calm that only comes after plotting for weeks and realizing you're 2 moves ahead. Coffee in hand, sunlight streaming through the blinds. I stared at my phone and smiled. The mistress had called last night. I hadn't answered. Why would I? Let her stew. Let her imagine what was coming. Let her think she had won. She hadn't. Jessica arrived, naturally armed with snacks and her trademark grin. Okay, she said, sitting down like a general surveying the battlefield. Today's the day we escalate. You ready? I nodded, sipping coffee. Patience, power, precision, I muttered. A mantra. My armor. Our plan was simple, yet deliciously effective. Public exposure, truth in full view, and timing so perfect it would sting with irony. And yes, it involved social media. But not me posting. Oh no, far more subtle. Feist, a casual brunch with mutual friends. He thought it would be safe to bring her along. He never understood subtlety. I laughed quietly at the thought. We arrived, and the moment we walked in, I felt it, the power of presence. People smiled, whispered greetings, compliments on my European deal. Every nod, every handshake was a tiny dagger to his ego. He tried that weak, practice smile he always thought could mask panic. But it failed, miserably. Claire, hi, he said, voice tight. I tilted my head, slow, deliberate. Hello, I said sweetly. Did you remember to bring my car keys? The mistress went pale. He froze. The room, small and cozy, suddenly felt enormous. Every whisper, every glance, was amplified. Public humiliation is a slow burn, terrifying for the one who caused it. Later, we excused ourselves to a quieter corner. I could see him shaking slightly. Pride, ego, masculinity, it was all unraveling in real time. Claire, come on. Let's talk, he said. I leaned back, sipping my mimosa. Talk? Sure. About what? How you sold my car for a woman who isn't me. How you underestimated me for years. He flinched. It's not like that. Not like that. I repeated. Oh, honey, you're really bad at honesty, aren't you? Jessica smiked from across the table. My secret weapon. Humor, timing, and unwavering composure. By afternoon, I had escalated. Emails quietly sent to his colleagues, a mention of the European deal in passing, strategic texts that placed him, and her, in the spotlight without me saying a word. The ripple effect was subtle but immediate. People started noticing the shift. Whispers turned into curiosity, curiosity into cautious admiration for me. And him? Every glance, every twitch of his fingers, every forced laugh revealed he was crumbling under the weight of his own choices. Then came the car. The dealership had confirmed it. Thanks to a loophole and meticulous documentation, the car legally remained mine. I didn't scream. I didn't post photos. I just smiled. The knowledge was intoxicating. The silent power. The control. That evening, he approached me at home, his usual bravado replaced by shaky confidence. Claire, We need to resolve this, he said. I let the words hang in the air like smoke. Resolve what? You know, everything, he said, voice low. I leaned forward, soft but deadly. Everything includes truth, accountability, and respect, I said. And none of those things are negotiable. He swallowed. Claire, you. Unbelievable. Yes, I said. Unbelievably done being invisible. Unbelievably done being underestimated. Jessica peeked around the corner. Yep, that's her. Watch the fireworks. Later that night, I received another call. Unknown number. She, the mistress, again. Claire, we need to talk, she said, voice trembling, just a little. I smirked. Patience, power, precision. Sure, I said. Tomorrow. Let's make it public. Her silence on the line told me everything I needed to know. She was afraid now. For the first time, I hung up and looked at Jessica. She's scared. I see it, Jessica said. You finally made them realize that being cruel has consequences. I nodded, and we're not done yet. Because here's the truth about betrayal. It doesn't end with a car, a sale, or a lie. It ends with accountability. And if the storm has taught me anything, it's that strength in silence, power in truth, can crush the inflated egos of those who think they are untouchable. But just as I relaxed, thinking the worst was over, my phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. Different message. Meet me. Tonight. Alone. The mistress? Or him? Or both? I stared at the screen, a chill creeping up my spine. The storm wasn't over. Not yet. That night, I stood outside the little cafe we agreed to meet at. Lights glowing, soft music drifting through the open windows, the smell of fresh coffee and pastries mixing with the crisp night air. I checked my reflection in the window. Hair in place, outfit flawless, but more importantly, my confidence in place. I saw him first. My husband. He walked in cautiously, eyes darting, ego bruised, dignity dangling by a thread. Behind him, she, the mistress, followed, glancing around like a cornered cat. I smiled. Calm, patient, powerful. Claire, he started, voice unsteady. I held up a hand. Save it, all of it. He froze. Then, slowly, realization dawned. The truth I'd been carefully orchestrating for weeks was about to hit him. I took a deep breath. You sold my car for her business. You thought I'd collapse, scream, beg, cry. You underestimated me. Again. His lips pressed thin. Claire, it wasn't. Stop, I said. I've documented everything. Every financial slight. Every invisible hour I spent keeping this marriage and household together while you lived in your little bubble of ego and entitlement. Her face went pale. I didn't know, she stammered. You did, I said. Soft, deadly. Every choice, every whisper, every lie, you knew. Then I leaned back, letting my silence do the work. She could feel it. He could feel it. The power of truth doesn't yell. It resonates. I reached into my bag and pulled out the documents. Copies for everyone. Texts, emails, receipts, timelines, all the proof of their betrayal and my silent labor. Consider this your wake-up call, I said. And no, it's not personal. It's justice. It's karma. He swallowed. His ego, that fragile, inflated thing, deflated in real time. She tried to reach for my hand. I didn't flinch, didn't react. She realized she wasn't stepping into my world. She was stepping into the truth. And then, the coup de grace. I slid the dealership confirmation across the table. My car, technically still mine, legally untouchable, was proof that even when they thought they had power, I had the leverage. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to beg. I didn't need to fight. I simply existed in my truth. He looked at me like he'd just seen a ghost. The mistress gasped, eyes wide. Claire, You can't. I can, I said. 7 words. 7 words that would forever be etched in his memory. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Silence. The cafe seemed to hold its breath. And then the magic happened. The first ripple of karmic justice. Mutual friends, colleagues, acquaintances who had quietly followed the story started arriving, sharing knowing glances, congratulatory nods. Public humiliation, subtle but undeniable, unfolded in real time. He realized that his arrogance, his pride, his ego-fueled decisions had created a spectacle he could not escape. I smiled, not triumphantly, but serenely. There was power in stillness, strength in patience, truth in silence. The mistress left first, the sound of her heels a hollow drumbeat of regret. My husband followed, shoulders slumped, ego shattered, dignity barely clinging. I stayed, coffee in hand, a quiet observer of the chaos his choices had sown. Jessica nudged me, grinning. Beautiful, she whispered. All of it. You've never looked stronger. I laughed softly. It's not just me. It's the truth. Weeks later, my car was back in the driveway, polished, gleaming, a symbol not just of material possession, but of resilience, vigilance, and victory. I didn't brag. I didn't flaunt. I just drove. And every time I started the engine, the memory of those months, the betrayal, the humiliation, the silent plotting, the karmic satisfaction, flared like sunlight through the windshield, reminding me that strength, patience, and truth always win in the end. Because life isn't about the car, the money, or the lies. It's about knowing your worth, standing firm, and never letting anyone underestimate you again. And as I drove away that morning, windows down, sunlight on my face, I whispered to no one in particular. You thought you could break me. You were wrong.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.